I talked to both of you. I haven't really been paying attention to this. Was it SnapTap?
I've already ranted a lot about this, so I guess I'll go first. I think it's just bad. And like the philosophy, the idea behind it is bad. I don't like the idea that basically you're just adding a script into drivers, into software, firmware, whatever you want to say. Like you're essentially adding a script that is in the game where previously people would either one, frown upon it, or two, if I asked an admin, at least once upon a time, I have not done this because I don't know anybody that was using these. You know, if you were trying to use null binds, which is essentially the same thing, you do not need a Razer keyboard to do SnapTap. Nobody needs any specific piece of hardware to be able to achieve what they're achieving on these keyboards. It is a script that you can make and put into your own game without any of these special keyboards and just run it. And like, I just don't like the idea that you're putting a script into the game, one that we previously just didn't use, and people like I said, was banned. I don't know if that's actually the case right now. And you're just taking away a major component of the skill ceiling in the game, or a skill gap, however you want to present it. I don't think that it's not even that I think it's like OP. I just don't like the idea of what it's doing. I don't like the idea that a company is like, hey, we just took a script and we put it into our stuff. And by the way, now you can have zero human error with this mechanic inside the game. And that feels really bad. I also feel like if you're going to do that, and I've seen people say like, oh, well, PC performance hurts, but they're not changing mechanics of the game. They're not removing mechanics of the game. Sure, do I see somebody faster? Does my game run smoother? Is that an advantage? Yeah, absolutely. But you're not removing a mechanic of the game. You're just having your game run incredibly well and smoother. And then just to kind of wrap it up, like if people really are so dead set on keeping it, that's fine. I don't want it to be pay to win. I don't want it to be locked behind hardware. I don't want people playing the game not knowing what they're facing. Then Valve should step in and remove counter strafing from the game and actually make it just built into the game. Not counter strafing, but you could like have the null binds built in, very similar to Valorant's movement. If you're going to let people use this anyway, you're now giving people a competitive advantage if they spend money. And then also you can't buy null binds either, which is also a pretty big... Though. It's quite the caveat. I feel like that doesn't make any sense.
I thought you can.
Why? What is the difference? Okay, so I want somebody to explain to me why banning a null bind is acceptable, but if I put it in a keyboard, it's okay.
No, but it's not though. From Razer's, from Facet's announcement 2 days ago, both the null bind configs and the SnapTap are both allowed.
So from Faceit, okay. Yes. Okay. I wonder. I actually am curious if it works for my league matches.
In Faceit, is that
they run different rule sets?
Has it always? Is that just for ranked?
When I previously asked to like desubtick my movement at one point, when I asked it, they basically said, "Don't do it. We don't really have a clear, definitive answer." And then I just didn't end up using it, so I won't lie, I didn't follow up. But that was kind of where that ended. So, and I don't know many.
2 days ago. This is
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, I'm saying like from previously before.
These are two separate issues as well. Like there's a lot of overlap, yeah, but also it's like brand new game where people are like, this is unoptimized and feels like shit, and we're getting inconsistent results. And here's like a way that we can kind of hot fix this for now until Valve decides to fix it or whatever. And I could understand that like still scripting shouldn't be allowed. With regards to any sort of software input that is predicting what your next key is going to be based on like the last key press or whatever, or any sort of macro in that regard, I feel like that shouldn't be allowed. Any sort of hardware that allows you to have better inputs, but it's you actually making those inputs. Yeah. So lower input delay or whatever latency, if they want to change the actuation points and all that stuff, I think that's cool. But once you involve software into the mix, I think that's probably crossing the line, because everything should be user input. And you can make the case about like, what about mice that have these features that kind of make the line straighter or whatever. I know that this used to be a thing back in the day. I don't know.
Angle snapping you're talking about, right?
Yeah, angle snapping, stuff like that. Yeah. About like keeping it straight, and some people liked it and some people didn't, and you could change how what degree of it it could do. It's still like you having to move the mouse. It's just it doesn't really change that much, I think, compared to it. But I think if the software is literally trying to predict what your next move is going to be based on like the last key press or something, I think that's probably not okay for a competitive game. If you want to use it in pubs and stuff, I think cool, whatever, go for it. But I don't think it should be allowed for the actual esport.
So on Razer's profile page, when they're selling the at least the Huntsman, it says approved by Valve. It
Well,
at
it's
least
not
has
unapproved by Valve.
Yeah, that's kind of
No,
what
but-
I like. What does
but
it
not-
actually mean? Is this the Valve seal
okay,
of approval?
I would have to assume Razer, as a professional company and who's been around for a long time, would not have put that there if they did not ask beforehand. I mean, look, I could be completely wrong, but I would assume they only put Valve's logo on their website because
I'd also assume they wouldn't do that to begin with.
There's a distinct difference, though, in what we're actually having a conversation about. We're having it's hugely distinct, right? It's fair game for Valve. It's not considered cheating. It's software in the keyboard that allows you to like press these buttons a little bit quicker, and it affects everything from typing to gaming to whatever. And it's not cheating by any means, but
should it be
competitively?
Should
Should it be allowed competitively?
Yeah.
Do I think it's cheating? I don't think it's necessarily cheating, but I don't think it should be necessarily allowed for competitive.
Okay. Oh, wait, but this is a big thing. It can't be one or the other. That's part of why they've changed Counter-Strike, to
that's kind of how I feel. I get what you mean, Josh, but
they cannot separate the normal everyday player and then the professional community.
That's why we have
why they
Subtick.
made their changes so much. Yeah, the subtick changes, the rounds played changes that they've made. Everything is to kind of unite the community between whatever a normal person.
All right, fuck it, ban it for everyone then.
Yeah, that's why, or give it to everyone, or build it into the game. That's what I was saying. Is like, if you're not gonna get rid of it, or like say you can't use it, then it shouldn't be locked behind. Like for the casual person, one, you shouldn't have to load up a config for nullbinds to make it work if you don't want to use a keyboard. That's shitty.
Wait. Okay, if we're gonna bring up configs and stuff, like I've said this before, if you want to play CS, it's like you're like a hacker on Linux or something like that. Like you don't
Not
get
anymore,
to just load
though.
up the game. Not even. I mean, to a degree.
That's the point.
It's better.
Only since Valorant's come out. Valorant, everything's in the game. It saves your
Very
profile.
true.
You can go anywhere. You never have to change shit. In Counter-Strike, I had to find a new folder because CS2 and CS:GOs was different. There's like 3 different config files I have to change. Like it is a completely different thing. So I forgot what the original point was, but I mean, you already have to kind of be some like super nerd hacker guy.
Yeah,
to
but
be
like
able to figure this out. Anyways.
that shouldn't be the goal, though. Like I get what you're saying, but that still shouldn't be the goal. And I can tell you, like I'm privileged enough to have this. Like I know that's not what they want. I've talked to them about stuff like this. Like when we were doing, that's why the jump like throws exist inside the game. Like when we were playtesting, they made it specifically for us to try stuff. Like then eventually it just gets built into the game. I know they don't want people to have to go into their configs. So if you're going to make it accessible for everybody to just have perfect frame by frame counter strafing with no human error whatsoever, it should be allowed for everyone and not just like either through a config where, like you said, you got to be a Linux hacker over there, hackermans, going through 7 different configs. And then also it shouldn't be the only way you know how to get it is by giving a company money. That like what? That's just like even if it's gonna get allowed, I just don't see how the way that it's currently being allowed should exist either. Like I don't like either. I don't know. Both outcomes feel really bad.
I believe this similar issue happened within the fighting game community, as someone in chat mentioned, with the hitboxes, which are a new type of stick. And it was considered, the community reaction was very similar or even more so than here. And everyone thought that people that use those hitboxes were cheating. And I believe all of the community backlash made the manufacturer change the way that the sticks work.
The Wooting clearly did that. Like Wooting released a version of it that had human error built into it. I guarantee you they knew how, like they released as soon as Razer did it. Then they updated it and then made it so that there's no potential chance for human error. So both these companies that currently now have it, I would say Razer really opened the floodgates and Wooting understood.
Leading the charge.
Yeah, but Wooting knew what they had. And I guarantee you Razer did too, is my point. And it was a choice. And that's what makes it feel even worse when you're talking about like, this company wouldn't just put approved on by Valve. I mean, I know they're a company at the end of the day that wants to sell stuff, but it just feels really...
Wait.
Yeah.
I like the way that you're framing that is almost as if Razer was like intentionally trying to build cheats in game or something. That's not the goal. Was let's make something in with the keyboard that makes the
Product unique.
responsiveness so much higher that when you do these advanced movements in this game, it's very responsive and you can get like the absolute most out of it. Like, it's not like, hey, we want to do it to give people that buy our product an unfair advantage. Like, obviously they want to sell the product, they want to create a feature that is allows you to take your movement to the max. But the problem is, it's not people's movements, it's the software that's making the people move better. Right?
I mean,
like, that's the crux of it.
But you can't tell me the gaming company didn't know what they were doing though, like, or what they were creating. Like, I get what you're saying, and that's like a very glass half full take of it. And I don't even think you're like wrong. I'm sure when they were doing this, they're like, this is cool. Like, this is nobody's sitting there like, oh, this is, but also at the same time, this is why community feedback's important. One, they probably do on the back end that like they were going to get backlash, but at the end of the day, they're trying to make money. Their company, all good, don't care. But like, surely they knew what Pandora's box they were about to open, and I just feel like it just feels kind of shitty overall to me.
So
but maybe I'm just a boomer.
Something that the community really should get behind to try to get Valve to eliminate?
Oh yeah. Well, okay. I don't care if I do selfishly, I do not want it to exist in the game. I think it's bad. But regardless, I think, and this will never happen more than likely because it's Valve. But yeah, I do think Valve should say something in terms of stuff like this, where is it allowed? Is it not allowed? Like what's are we counter strafing still or not? Like, do I need to learn this, or do I just need to buy something and call it a day? And that's how I feel about it. Because right now, them being silent is just weird as hell.
Wait, I might be misinterpreting what the actual keyboard does. Do you know, like, can you explain in your own words what SnapTap does?
You can never have two inputs at the same time, so it eliminates the human error of a counter strafe. So if you release the input, think of like Valorant. It's literally just like Valorant. When you release your strafe, it's gonna stop immediately. Like, so you can't fuck it up. Like, it's gonna stop on the perfect frame. That makes sense. So there's no human aspect. There's no fucking up a counter strafe.
So if I'm holding A and then I wanna stop, normally I'd have to lift all the way off of A and then tap D to stop.
Just let go.
What do I have to do?
Just let go.
Now you just let go of A and then it does the D for you.
You don't let go. You just press D. Sorry, I actually explained it poorly. So sorry.
So you're strafing left. You're holding A. And then as soon as like you come off of A and you press, as soon as you press D, it cancels out the
yes, and then you're done. You've officially
and it stops the A.
Yeah.
So all you have to do is like just give it a little tap. What happens if you're still holding A and you let go of D at that point?
You're still holding A and you let go of D?
So I'm holding
a good question. I actually don't know. I think it
tap
stops
D,
it.
but I'm still holding A. A was nullified already. That it goes back to A. So I need to tap D and also come off A. So it gives a little bit of a buffer kind of thing. It goes back to A. So D, once I press D, it activates D. It deactivates A. But if I let go of D, it goes back to whatever's previously activated. I need to figure out, like, is there some sort of like philosophical foundation basis thing for, let's compare it with other things that came out. So, we switched from ball mice to optical to whatever the fuck sensors we have now. We went from these CRTs into these 60 hertz LCDs with 30 ms response time into these 240 hertz or 360 hertz monitors with 1 ms response time. Is that sort of evolution of other hardware on the same kind of realm of this, or is it different, and why?
It's not affecting a mechanic of the game. Like, it's not actually getting, like, it's not changing it. Seeing somebody faster, having your mouse respond quicker is not, to me at least, and this is where I like, you're still aiming. Can I aim better? I get what you're saying. Like, can I aim better because my mouse has a better sensor in it? Like, yeah. But also, I'm not like removing the mechanic, I guess, if that makes sense. I just have a better tool for the job. And I could see maybe the logic that you're saying this is now going to just be a better tool for the job. But if that were the case, then this should just be baked into the game. Kind of back to my original, like what I was saying is like, if this is going to be allowed, I don't want it to be through Razer. I don't want it to be through looting. I don't want it to be through, I want Valve to just add it then because now we're playing different versions of the game. It feels like we're doing different things. Oh, did somebody just hit a sick counter strafe, or did his keyboard do it? I don't know. Like, was that really good movement from him in this like gunfight? Did Nico like run up ramp and hit some really sick shots, or does he, whiff the top hut guy from heaven? Like, I don't. It just, I feel like it creates like this layer of like, it's just ambiguous, and I don't know like what somebody's doing. Like, if I'm watching it, that's what makes Counter-Strike so much fun. Like, when somebody hits an insane shot, I know they hit the insane shot. It kind of takes away a little bit of that for me, at least.
So the philosophical foundation is about your input as a human. What you're actually inputting through your mouse, through your keyboard, is the crux of the argument, and that every movement that you make on this, every action you do in the game is one-to-one with the movement that you do on the thing, like on your input devices, keyboard, mouse, controller in some cases, and it shouldn't have anything to do with any sort of software. You remember back in the day in CS Source specifically, the B hopping, people would like take apart their mouse to remove the thing on their mouse wheel. So instead of it having the notches, they could literally like free spin it. So if they wanted to B hop places, they literally just like took their mouse and just like swipe down once, and it just like they would just B hop perfectly. They would never miss an input on that frame or the tick for that B hop.
But they didn't sell
a mechanical thing.
They didn't sell
No,
it.
but do you think that would be allowed?
No, because
should that have been allowed?
It's like hard for me to get where you're going, just because like they also just completely shat on bunny hopping. So it's like in my head, it's like I'm trying to remove that aspect out of my head for this analogy. Should that be allowed?
It's user input. It's not changing the software. It's hardware. They're just making that the scroll wheel can go infinitely. And
this man had to go to Source and talking about removing the mouse wheel. And I don't know.
Logitech did sell those. Wait, did Logitech actually sell those mice specifically? They had the notches removed with a button.
They started selling that feature. I didn't even know that. I just feel like that's not quite the greatest analogy for this. I know what you're saying. Like, I'm picking up what you're putting down, but I feel like that's a stretch. Like, and I feel like the fact that you had to go all the way there to like. Yeah, I feel like that's a bit. I feel like we've got a little far.
The reason I go there is because I want to find out specifically what is it at its core that shouldn't be allowed, so that you can have consistency, right? Because that's all that matters. Right? We don't want to pick and choose and say this one's okay, but that one's not. So at its core, what's different? So if Logitech press a button and you can just free scroll wheel so you can get perfect bunny hops because the input of the mouse wheel down, as soon as you're allowed to do it, will hit it, but that's not software. That's literally just spinning the wheel. Is that okay? Yes or no, and why? Because having some sort of
we all deemed probably no, right? Because we removed B hopping essentially with Z block and all that stuff. So I'm just saying, like,
Z blocking,
So in a way, like we got there.
They removed B hopping because they thought B hopping shouldn't be part of competitive play. Even if you were doing it with like normally, even if you spacebar B hop.
I can't. It's hard in this analogy where I'm just like, well, we got rid of it, so like kind of Like I think immediately people make the difference and can like differentiate in certain situations. I think if you're getting like software assistance, it just shouldn't be allowed. Like I feel like. That's how I feel.
Okay, I think the issue for fl0m, just from hearing about it, is that because it is counter-strafing is an advanced, I would say, skill. Maybe it shouldn't be considered an advanced skill within a game like
it's something you develop, right?
Core to the game, but because your ability to be good at counter-strafing is pretty involved in terms of how good you are as a
No, it is. If you can't counter strafe, you suck. Like that's
it will be. There is a good amount of alignment between how good you are at that and how good you can become as a player. And because the closeness of that relationship, that I think is what makes it difficult. But I feel like Street Fighter again is a decent example. When one button supers were announced, most of the community went crazy, including professional players, how this is going to ruin Street Fighter and ruin the franchise and ruin the game. And it's been about a year and a half since. And I, from the outside, as someone who does not play the game, I do not hear about it ever. It's never a thing that really comes up in terms of like why Punk won Evo or why people are winning tournaments.
I don't think it's going to ruin Counter-Strike though.
it's still the meta and whatnot, which is what is dictating who is winning. What if it really just does not have a huge impact overall? What if we do see pros using it? But
they already do. There's pros already using it. They won Pro League using it. But
okay, has there been any big example? Like, have you seen any games where you could point out that is what happened? Like, hey, could you see a fight and be like, okay, he's using null binds or.
No, and that's not really been my. I don't think Nico needs snap tap. I think if he used it, it might make him 0.1% better or something like that. My issue still comes back to just it's just a core mechanic of the game that's being manipulated, and I just don't know if it should be paywalled or. It just shouldn't be this thing that's lost in the sauce. It should just be definitive. Can it be there or not?
Yeah, but when you're saying it's paywalled, it's like saying someone that's on some fucking shitty $20 mouse or something, and then I'm on however much this Viper V3 with 8K polling wireless shit is. It's am I really using a paywalled thing because I'm using an expensive mouse versus someone buying some $20 thing at Best Buy?
It just shouldn't be a mechanic of the game. Shouldn't be changed and not allowed for people to. Oh man, how do I rephrase this a little bit better?
I don't think the paywall thing should be.
Okay, take the all right, we'll take the paywall part out. That's fair.
We just need to come back to should it be 100% user input? But then what if they find other innovative ways to make the user input so much better at being able to counter strafe, and it's completely hardware related. So I want to make sure that whatever consensus people come to, because the more we talk about this, the more I actually go in the favor of Snapchat. Maybe it should be allowed.
But if it is allowed, I just want it to be in the game. I just don't want it to be this thing that you have to get a config or a keyboard for. That's really what I'm not.
I think so.
I'm
too.
not dead set against it.
Then just put it directly inside of the game.
Exactly.
If Valve's going to approve the keyboard and what it does, then you may as well just allow everybody to.
It just feels weird that some people are doing.
Allowed in pro play.
The keyboard is, but to my knowledge, at least for a while, I always assumed null binds were not allowed. But that was an assumption. So
this screenshot says Faceit allows both the null binds and the keyboard.
So just careful. Faceit rules are different from pro rules. So I don't know. I was just seeing if you put it over here, but yeah. No. I believe you probably are fine on Faceit, but I think even the way he phrased it in there, is this it right here at the top? Let's see. Yeah, I think it's right here. I think the way he phrased it, it made it seem like it was, so they're both currently allowed on Faceit, although I'd recommend holding off purchasing a keyboard in case this changes. So that was what was specifically put in there. And
if people are going out and buying keyboards because of this, props to fucking Razer.
Dude, they're back ordered 3 or 4 months. That's
amazing.
I'm not even.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
It's not surprising.
Yo, no, I will sell mine right now. 10 grand, highest bidder. I will sell my Snap Tap active. Ooh.
Yeah, I'd prefer it not in the game, but if it is going to be, it should be for everyone. That, it's as simple as that. If everybody, I don't want some people counter strafing one way, some people can't. I just want it to be universal, so that way when I see somebody do something, I can appreciate what they're doing one way or another. My own feeling is I'd rather just have more raw input from the actual human and not have software assistance and stuff added in. But if that is the case where the community is you know what? I think it's fine. All right, all good. Just can we put it in the game and just call it a day? That's how I feel.